Guys, is this normal? Is this really normal? How can somebody who has been driving in the UK for over 5 years suddenly have 3 car accidents in the span of like 48 hours? Is that normal? First of all, the interesting thing is that all these 3 accidents or like these incidents happened days after I posted this video. The video about me having received my British passport. When I told my mom about the accidents, right? She was like, how is this even possible? Like she says, as you know, a typical African as she is, she says, you see, you shouldn't have posted the video. Are you the first person to receive a British passport? You see, now all eyes are on you. You see, now our village people are unhappy. They must celebrate everything on social media. Intro video first, and then I'll start the entire story, guys. So let's assume today is like a Tuesday, right? So on the Tuesday, I had night shift, okay? So I was driving for my night shift and I was running late. So in my attempts to park my car, I hit somebody's car, right? And that was the first accident, okay? I didn't think it was such a big deal, right? So I went for my night shift. And then the funny thing is that particular day I was in resource. You know, I work in the ED and the ED has various sections, right? That particular day I was in the resource, okay? And around 6-ish in the morning, right? All the nurses there, my colleagues there, who were sort of like having a conversation, we're a bit free, we're having a conversation, and then like we're all sleepy, right? So we started talking about how we're going to drive back home. You see, sometimes these conversations, I feel like sometimes it's God trying to put your mind in a certain direction for you to think of something, right? Because ask me why we were talking about nurses having accidents and discussing situations where some nurses had accidents on their way back home after a night shift where they were really tired. And one of the nurses even gave an example of one of our colleagues who had a very terrible accident, damaged her car. She got really badly injured after a night shift. And I was also telling them about this story. So there was a story in the US where a night shift nurse, right? She had finished working and then she was going to take her car from the multi-story car park, right? So as tired as she was, she didn't realize she was on the top floor. So she drove off, right, from the top floor. She thought she was like on the ground floor, do you understand? So she drove off at the top floor and obviously she got injured, right? And then she was admitted in the same hospital where she had just clocked off, right? And so I was telling them this story. They were also telling stories of, you know, days when, like, I never even thought twice about it, right? Fast forward that morning, guys, that morning, I don't know what happened. I just heard a loud sound, right? And that's when I realized I was sleeping whilst driving because I had no idea how the entire thing, I just heard the sound. I didn't even realize what had happened. So I was still confused when I heard the sound. I didn't know what had happened. I didn't know what happened on the road. I just heard the sound and I was sleeping, right? So a bus driver was just behind me. He was just, you know, the bus lanes are on this side. So the bus driver was on my left side and then he slowed down the bus and then he rolled down his glass and he was like, he just hit the bus. Like I had just hit the bus, guys, the bus. And this was a bus, it was early in the morning, right? And this was a bus with people on board, students, workers and all of that. And I was like, I'm so sorry, right? And I have a feeling the bus driver actually felt very pity for me because when he rolled down his glass, I rolled down mine as well. And he could see from my face that I was very sorry. And he could see that I was in a nursing uniform, right? But like, I still did not know what had happened. So that makes me realize that I was sleeping whilst driving, guys. I just heard the sound, that's all I heard. And I didn't know how much damage I had caused. So I was just so disturbed the rest of the journey back home. What made me realize that it was probably not a big deal was that he did not stop the bus, right, to take my details or anything like that. But then again, I was also thinking that probably he has a dash cam and then he can trace me anyways, right? So he can trace me from my car number. And so maybe that's why he didn't stop, because there were people, there were students in the bus and then there were workers in the bus and he didn't want to delay anybody, right? So I'm thinking that that's probably why he didn't stop, or because I didn't cause that much of a damage. So he just drove off, right? So that was the second one. So before I even got home, I stopped at a spa and then I bought brake fluid. First of all, at the spa, right, at the shop where I parked my car to go buy the brake fluid, when I came out of the shop, somebody had stopped by my car and was looking at the damage on my side and looking at the color of the bus that had rubbed off my car. It was like, this must have been really bad. When did this happen? And I'm like, it's a few minutes ago, just before I got here. And he was like, wow, this must have been really bad. Even making things worse. So I got to the house. So apparently you can use the brake fluid to clean off some of the other person's car paint on your car, right? There was a bit of a dent in our car. And as for the bus, I don't know how much of a dent I caused. And then the first car the night before as well, I didn't know how much damage I had caused, right? So I came back. With regards to the first car, I would give details later as to what exactly happened, right? In terms of the aftermath, because I had to report myself to the police, because when they looked at the CCTV camera, they thought I had run away, I had hit the car and I had run away, right? Until I reported myself. So it had become a big deal, right? Until I had reported myself, they thought I had run away. So I will give details about that first car incident in another video, maybe sometime, but now I have still not recovered from it. So guys, let me heal, right? And then there was the bus. The next morning, I'm taking my son to school, and you see how these UK roads are very tiny, right? These roads are very tiny. So there was a car parked on my left, there was a car parked on my right, and then I was just driving to take my child to school. I was just one house away from my child's nursery school, and then pa! I knocked off somebody's side mirror, like I knocked it off. Before I continue with that one, first off guys, just help me thank God that I'm alive. Help me thank God that my car is still usable. Help me thank God that nobody got injured or nobody got hurt. And help me thank God that I'm in the financial position to be able to settle this debts that, I have incurred through damaging people's cars, right? So a few days later, I was telling another nurse about this story, and then she was telling me that, oh, this also happened to another YouTuber. So apparently there's another YouTuber who is a Nigerian, who's in the UK, who's a nurse, and that's similar content that I do. And then she also had an accident. I don't think I had the right to put her name out there because I don't know if she has even shared it publicly. So she also had a very bad accident where her car was damaged. And guys, if you watch my channel, you know of the story of an old friend of mine, Billa, who actually died. For him, it was on his way to work through a car accident. And I also know of a friend who accidentally hit somebody on the road in the UK here, right? And there was a big issue. And this was on her file for a while, for a long time. So guys, I just thank God that none of this happened, that I did not hurt myself, that I did not hurt anybody, and that if financial debt, is better than anything, right? And the fact that just recently in the news, an American nurse in the US, right? And then she's a night nurse. She had done 3 night shifts in a row. And then on her 3rd night after her work, she was driving home and then she accidentally hits someone's car and then the person died in the process in the car accident. And now she's being charged with manslaughter, or she's being charged with homicide, right? And this can easily happen to anybody. I feel like it's not surprising because this nurse's story was published on 25th of March, just around the time that I was going through what I was going through. For me, I have received invoices from the cars I have damaged. One of the people whose car I damaged contacted my insurance company. One of them was happy that we settled it out of insurance, where I'll pay it out of pocket. And obviously my premium has gone high. Obviously I'm still paying for this particular damage to the other car. But I feel like that is the least that could have happened. That's the least thing, right? I can't compare my situation to the other nurse YouTuber whose car got completely damaged and was not useful anymore. I can't compare myself to this lady from Georgia who accidentally hit a 70-year-old man's car and the man died, and now she's being charged with homicide. She's being charged with murder. She's being charged with manslaughter. Let me read a story for you. So she's a 24-year-old nurse and she's at Northside Forsyth Hospital in Georgia. She was driving home after working 3 night shifts in a row, each lasting around 12.5 hours. So just like in the UK here, right? And on her way home, she fell asleep at the wheel and was involved in a car crash that killed a 72-year-old Jane Holbrook, okay? So she was coming off her 3rd consecutive night shift where she fell asleep at the wheel. She was arrested and the investigation is still ongoing. Her shift was approximately 12.5 hours long, and this was her 3rd night shift in a row. She's being charged with homicide by vehicle in 2nd degree. For me, before I start blaming evil spirits and I start blaming village people, I always want to see the non-spiritual aspects of it. What could I have done also to prevent this, right? And I realized that I knew I was tired that morning. I knew very well that I was really tired. I could have taken the taxi, or I could have asked my husband to come for me. I could have left my car there, because I know of nurses that I have worked with where if they're not comfortable, let's say if it snows very much and then they know that the road is slippery, they're not even there. They would take a taxi and leave their car parked at the hospital or at the care home, right? Because of past experiences, I know of nurses who would just not just take the train or something. They would prefer getting home late than getting involved in an accident, right? So I was thinking that maybe when I knew I was tired, I could have done that. And I've done night shifts for so many years, right? And usually this is what I do. I used to call one of my aunties, or I'll call my sister, and then they'll engage me in a very, family gossip, and they will talk until I get home, and then I go away and then I go and sleep. And sometimes too, maybe you can take tea, or you can take coffee, or you can play loud music in your car where you are vibing and dancing to it as well. Because guys, this is very terrible. And I felt like doing this video, first of all, to share my testimony that, I've been through 3 car accidents, I'm still alive, thank God. And I know that most people that watch me are carers or nurses or doctors, and you can benefit from this information as well. Somebody is being charged with homicide after hitting someone on the road after her night shift when she was driving home. This can happen to any one of us. They are not going to say that because you just finished the night shift saving lives, you shouldn't go to jail. This person can end up in jail. And apparently research says that staying awake for 17 to 19 hours can affect your body the same way that alcohol does. Okay, so it's like driving with a blood alcohol level of 0.05%. So that's not just tired, that is dangerous. And night shifts are especially very tough. Your body naturally wants to sleep in the night, so you fight through that cycle in the night for several days in a row, and it puts stress on, more strain on your brain, your mood, and even your decision making. Let me know in the comment section how you deal with fatigue and sleepiness after your night shift when you're going home. What is your way that has worked for you over the years as a nurse or as a carer or as a doctor? What do you do? And I always find it that, especially if it's a weekday and there's a bit of traffic on the road, that is when I am sleepy the most, because the journey becomes longer and there's a bit of a traffic and you drive for 2 seconds, there's a red light, and before you realize you're dozing off at the red light. But if the road is free, like a Saturday or Sunday morning, you can just drive fast because in a few minutes you're at home. There's no pause for you to feel sleepy. That's what I have realized personally. But I think that one thing that I'll start doing now is make sure I am well rested before the night shift, and then when I'm on break at night, if my work policy allows, I will take a nap if I can. Take a nap during my break in the night shift. And then as well in the morning, if I'm too tired and I know that I'm too tired, I would either take coffee or call my husband to come for me or take a taxi. And I think that will be the safest thing to do. But guys, let me know, okay, how do you manage sleepiness in the morning when you're driving home after a night shift? What do you do? What's your trick? Any tips for the rest of us? Okay, and just help me thank God that I did not hit anybody, that I am alive. Guys, leave your comments in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.